For the longest time, you saw predominantly diesel-centric layouts in N-scale. N-scale steam locomotives have existed since the scale began, but the size factor made the intricate drive mechanism more difficult to manufacture and maintain. But that's changed. These are two of Broadway Limited's recently delivered locomotives, a 282 Mikado and a Pennsylvania T1 Duplex. They're both phenomenal locomotives. Now, Broadway Limited is known for detail and its feature set, and these locomotives are no different. Starting with the Duplex, this is my first streamlined locomotive, and it's a pretty one. I've always loved the fallen flags that became Norfolk Southern, and Pennsylvania is no different. Now, a duplex means that the power of the locomotive is distributed between two pairs of cylinders. This duplex is not articulated like a big boy, Challenger, or Y6B. For this reason, one of the wheels on the model is only simulated so that the loco can take tighter turns. Now, luckily this model works a lot better than the prototype, which was notorious for terrible wheel slip. But let's see if we can get it to spin a little bit on its wheels. Well, it was worth a shot. While the T1 Duplex had a short life on the Pennsylvania, the model is well built and well detailed. The sound is great, and just look at this thing running. Now on to one of my favorite steamers of all time, and I think it's a lot of people's favorite steamer, the Mikado. Now, this is a light Mikado, which means that it has a smaller boiler and less axle load than the heavy Mikado. The light Mikado was the more prolific of the two, with over 1,200 built, including the copies by other companies. Now, this model represents a very special Mikado, Southern 4501, which is still in existence and currently resides at the Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum and participates in Norfolk Southern's 21st Century Steam program. Now, you can potentially book a train ride on this locomotive, which also gives it a wider area that you can model with on your layout. Like every Broadway Limited locomotive, the detail is fantastic, but the great thing about a detailed early 20th century steamer is that the details, including the separately applied ones, are impressive and just really pop. Not to mention, this thing can pump out some sound for an N-scale engine. My daughter even thinks that this thing is actually too loud, and when it's running on the layout, sometimes she'll even cover her ears. And if you want to know how realistic the sound is, my son said that the bell sounds just like one of the steam engines at the North Carolina Transportation Museum, and I have to agree, it sounds really close to it. Now, this is a shot of the 4501 pulling some corrugated streamlined passenger cars. And if you say that that isn't accurate for the era, I do have a picture in one of my books of a Southern steamer pulling some streamlined passenger cars. By the way, these books are really amazing for prototype modeling. I have a couple of them for me, but they're just a phenomenal resource for getting things right in terms of the way older prototypes looked. Now, both of these locomotives did fine on the 8-hour endurance test and run great with cars behind them as well. So what does this mean to my point that I made at the beginning? N-scale was the domain of diesel, and while steam has always been there, it's always been less present than in other larger scales. Things have been changing though. Manufacturers like Bachmann, Athearn, Mikado, and of course Broadway Limited have been releasing more and more steam locomotives in N-scale. Bachmann has a 2884 Yellowstone on the way. Mikado, of course, released their first big boy. Athearn has a Challenger up for pre-order. And Broadway Limited has a Pacific, a Reading T1, and a Challenger on the way over the next year. The T1 and the Challenger will have some smoke to go along with their latest big boy that has it. There was a time when if you wanted to run steam, your options were more limited in N-scale than other scales. That time is gone. The engines are here, the features are improving to match HO scale, and the detail is superb. Pretty much every model locomotive has become significantly better detailed with improved manufacturing techniques, but some manufacturers are taking this and giving N-scalers the option to run more steam more reliably. I love all model railroad scales, and we all know that HO and similar scales are the standard bearers for our hobby in terms of product availability. So seeing another scale, especially the one that I model, take more steps to improve and move to parity with HO scale is always good, because it gives more people more options and more opportunities to enjoy the hobby. Thank you all so much for watching. Until next time, I'm Jimmy from the DIY and Digital. Stay safe, be kind, and happy railroading.